What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you guys are new to the channel, my name's Kish. I run a 7-figure wholesale real estate business. And in today's video, I'm going to be walking you guys through basically an entire wholesale deal that we ended up just closing. It was a land deal out of Marietta, Georgia. And we're going to be showing you pretty much as raw as it gets, from the cold call to the acquisition call to how we ended up dispoing it and how we ended up making $46,625.39 on this deal. So with that said, let's get right into it. So as I told you guys, I'm gonna try to make this as raw as possible. I went into our call software called SendCall, where our call center, or basically our agents, are cold calling some of these prospects to be able to get these leads that we're doing these deals for. So I went back into ZenCall, downloaded the actual call that one of our teammates, Mark, out in the Philippines, ended up calling. And I'm just gonna play the actual recording for you guys. So with that said, let's listen into it.
Yes.
Yes, hi. My name is Mark, and I'm the one who called you this morning and about the property. So, have you? What's the condition of the property?
I have two pieces of property. The one you're calling me about, I think, is right.
Yes.
Okay. Now I have a property adjoining to that with no house on it, vacant land,
Okay.
and I'm interested. I'm interested in selling that.
All right. So, how many acres does the property have?
I think it's almost 4 acres.
And then, what's the zoning of this property?
You know, I really don't know. I know there's
All
a
right.
church right next. A church right next to it.
Okay. And then if ever we presented you with an offer that makes sense to you, that you like, when would you be ready to sell the property? Is it going to be 30, 60 days?
Probably, I don't know, 60, 30.
That's perfect. Just wanted to let you know that we buy properties in cash. There's no real estate commissions here, and the best part is we buy properties completely as is condition. So, if you don't mind me asking, do you have at least something in mind? What's the best price you can do on your property?
No, I've had it for ages and ages, so, you know, I'll take, you know,
Okay.
I'll give it a low ball price, whatever it is.
Okay. And then, do you know the address of the property?
I don't know if it has an address.
All right. Okay. Do you know
It's
that?
on-
I mean, okay.
It's on Hicks, it's on, Hicks Road. If you
Hicks
look it
Road?
up on Hicks Road, if you look it up on Google, it's right next door and behind the two churches.
All right. And then, by the way, do you have any particular reason why you're considering an offer for this property? Do you have any plans like moving out or buying a new property?
No, I'm tired of it. I've had it for many years. I'm just tired of it. Get rid of it.
All right. Okay, so I think I'm done. Please expect my partner to call you back, and he will give you a cash offer. So, as you've mentioned, what's your best time to call back?
The best time, really, there's no best time. It's just to try me and see where I am.
Okay. By the way, with regards to this property, in what city this property located?
It's in Marietta, Georgia.
All right.
It's on the back. It's adjoining the back side of my Mill Creek Lane address.
All right. I'm sorry?
It's on the back side of 3520.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you for your time. Please expect my partner, and I think he'll be texting you before he will call you back for you to be able to know his name and on what he's trying to say. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
So as you guys can tell, obviously that was somebody out in the Philippines. His name is Mark, but he actually produces a ton of leads for us. And by surprise, I actually went back, listened to that call. I don't personally listen to our calls that much anymore, but to be honest, he does have a heavy accent, but it seems like that really didn't faze the homeowner. So if you guys are ever having that kind of mental trouble trying to figure out, is it worth it to get in the Philippines? Obviously you're paying less, so the quality isn't gonna be crazy, but it's more of a volume game for us. Obviously he isn't 100% fluent in English, no accent, and we still got that lead and we still ended up making $46,000 on it. So don't have limiting beliefs in that. So I figured I'd just mention you guys, like, don't get cold feet on some with hiring out in the Philippines. But obviously once that lead got transferred from ZenCall, we have them transferred via Podio web form into our CRM, and I'm gonna pop up here what that looked like in our system, our Podio. And you guys can see here, he actually had some pretty good notes. I've started to train them on what questions to ask for land. It's pretty much the same thing. The only thing we're changing for them is to go ahead and ask different condition questions, which include like how many acres, if it's zoned, and the asking price, and just, I mean, very similar to normal cold call. We're just not asking if it was a house. But to give you an idea, you guys saw on that call as well, we ended up calling based on one property and he wouldn't want to sell that one. So we had to ask, or we trained them to ask if they have any other ones. And this happened to be a decent piece of land right by his neighborhood, and it ended up being on a main road. So he says right here in the description, vacant land property, 4 acres. We ended up finding out it was about 3.2 acres. No idea what the zoning of the property is, but there's a church right next to it. So initially we're thinking it could be commercial, but it is next to a residential neighborhood. But this just, not to say it shows a lack of knowledge from the homeowner, but in situations like that, we find that we might be able to get a little bit of a better price just because they don't truly know the value of it. And that's just probably because he had owned it for so long, as you guys could tell in that call. But he told us he gave us a good idea of where that land was next to it, because that piece of land, actually, it only had a parcel number. It didn't have an actual address from the city. Ready to sell within the next 30 to 60 days. He just wants to get rid of the property, vacant for a long time, so there's good motivation. He's willing to take a lowball price for it. So this was the key why we ended up calling it so quickly. I'll pop up on the screen here sometime in the video, but we had over 45 back and forth text calls with this gentleman to get it actually closed. And just to give you an idea, we got this lead November 5th of 2021, and we just closed it January 24th of 2022. So technically it does kind of fit in that range, maybe a little bit more than 60 days, but that was just because we had to end up finding a buyer, and we ended up finding some more information out about this property later down the road that ended up kind of transpiring into us not being able to sell it for as much as we possibly could. But that's kind of what we had seen in Podio. So immediately after that call came into our system, I had one of my acquisitions guys by the name of Devin go and make the acquisition call. We're gonna go listen to it right now. So we had a bunch of acquisition calls for this one. He didn't sign right away. This one is one that we had to keep following up with, but this was the initial call we had, and let's just listen right into it.
Hello.
Hey, this is Devin giving you a call. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good. Listen here, you spoke with my colleague Mark a couple days ago about that property you have over on Mill Creek. Does that ring a bell?
Right.
Yes, just wanted to call back over here real quick. Just wanted to follow up. Yeah, we were really just looking to get a little more information and see kind of where your head was at with that property. It's just that piece of land there off the main road, right?
Right, that's correct.
Okay, awesome. Do you have an idea of what you're looking to get for that?
Not really, because I want to get rid of it. I've had it for years and years and years, and it's, I'm getting older and I just don't want it anymore.
Totally understand. I mean, just to get like a ballpark here, are you looking, for, like 20, 30,000, or are you looking to get, a couple $100,000 for that property?
No, 20 or 30.
20 or 30. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, do you know what it's zoned for?
No, I don't. Next to it, there are 2 churches. but I don't
Couple
think
churches next to it.
I don't know if it's
Okay.
zoned commercial.
Well, I mean, yeah, it definitely sounds like something we may be able to work with here. Would you consider an offer around like 25 or so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me take that back to my manager over here and see what he thinks and see if that's something we want to work with. We typically buy single family rentals, but always open to different opportunities. So let me take this back to him over there and see what we can do. Do you have a good email that I could shoot you over my information to?
You can send it to my email.
What's a good email for you?
It's called
frontiernet.net.
correct.
Okay. Sounds good.
Just one word.
Okay, perfect. No periods or anything in there.
No.
Cool. Just another quick question here: is the land, is it flat or is it pretty hilly, or what does it look like there?
The lower part of it is called wetlands.
The lower part of it is wetlands.
Right.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, we're gonna do a little digging here on our end. I'm gonna take this back to my manager over here and see what he thinks. But I will shoot you my info so that you have it, and we'll be in touch here shortly. Okay.
All right. Good enough. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
So after looking back at our call rail, which tracks all our calls, we ended up calling this gentleman about 15 times between that call to contract to be able to get that contract signed. We walked him through it. He still didn't sign it. I mean, it was a long process. He just seemed like a busier gentleman, and I'll pop up on the screen here our actual purchase and sale agreement. Now, this isn't the entirety of it, but this just shows the initial part where we contracted it for $25,000 for 3.2 acres. This was in Marietta, Georgia. If you guys don't know, that market is pretty good, and it was located on a main road. But one thing we ended up finding out about it was that it was in partially a flood zone. So that's something he didn't know. We can't blame him for it. But even at $25,000, we truly felt that we could sell this for probably $40,000, $50,000. Because initially we had seen a comp just down the road. It was about a mile down the road. It was like 3.3 instead of 3.2 acres. And it was already, I mean, it already had the zoning. It had plots of land already gone to the county. I don't know the specific terminology for that stuff, but it had some work done to it. It was flattened and everything. And that piece of land alone ended up selling for over $300,000. So before we had figured out that it was in a flood zone, we thought we were sitting on an absolute gold mine, but it is what it is. It was in the FEMA 100+ year flood zone. If you guys don't know what that is, it just means there's tons of restrictions. There was a lake nearby that if it flooded, it predicted that that land would flood as well. So for any development opportunities, it was just a no-go. So I couldn't really push it out to anybody. I know a couple of developers, builders, but they don't really have to want to deal with FEMA. Even though it's still possible, you need new insurances. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm an expert in it, but we did look into it and kind of the restrictions that you do have with building on that land. So last case, we ended up putting it on the MLS. I'm going to actually put a screenshot up here of the actual MLS listing agreement, and we ended up just shooting it out at a random number. We ended up putting it up for $75,000. We put on the market at 12/2/2021, and we ended up using a flat fee broker service. If you guys want to see more about that, definitely leave a comment in the comment section. I mean, we pay, I think, $150 just to list any property on the MLS, so it's dirt cheap. We're not having to deal with an agent or anything like that. The only thing that you have to deal with when putting it on the MLS is, one, you have to have, obviously, permission from the owner, but you need to have, most of the time, an agent is going to bring that buyer, so you're going to have to pay 1, 2, 3, whatever percentage, typically anywhere between 1% and 5% for that agent. So we did ended up paying that at closing, but I mean, I think we ended up paying 2-3% out of $75,000, but it took about, I think, nearly a month to end up finding the buyer. The guy, we didn't think we were getting any traction. We probably had 1 or 2 calls, and then randomly a gentleman said he had a client that wanted to go check it out. He went and viewed it. Obviously, I made it very clear that this was in FEMA flood zone on the MLS because I'm pretty sure it'd be illegal if I didn't. We ended up He had a 10-day due diligence period. We contracted it with him. He had a few $1,000s earnest money, but at that point, I pretty much was confident that it would back out. Probably not good confidence boost, but we just really think it would never happen. And then the 10-day due diligence was up. We didn't hear anything. At that point, we would at least get our earnest money. And then we got obviously to the closing table on January 24th, 2022, which was just about a week ago. And I'll put up the screenshot here to show the proof that we actually did the deal, but we ended up making $46,625.39. So obviously we had it for 25, we sold it for 75 minus closing costs, because we obviously double closed it. We didn't want to necessarily show this gentleman that we were making upwards of $50,000 on it. We ended up using our own closing attorney and everything, and after closing costs and paying the realtor, we ended up paying a little bit less than $4,000 off of that, which was perfectly okay with us. We got the deal done, agent was happy, and now that's a buyer that we know and that I've talked to after we've closed this deal. It's gonna be doing a lot of deals with us in the future, flood zone or not. I didn't really ask him what he's gonna do with this property, so if you guys are curious, I don't even know either. But I know you still can build in those type of flood zones, but there's just a lot of restrictions. You need a ton of insurance, so maybe he specializes in that, and I'm just gonna keep up with this property, probably check in on it in the probably next 3 to 6 months, see what he ended up doing with it, because maybe that's an opportunity to make a ton of money. But I know I kind of went through this process pretty quick, but that's pretty much it raw for a wholesale deal. I mean, I showed you the actual cold call up to the acquisition call. Obviously, we had a bunch of calls in between. I showed you guys we had, I think, 45 or 46 interactions. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of contracts, addendums being signed to be able to get to the closing table. But obviously that could be put in a whole 3-hour video if I wanted to. But if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Or if you want to hit me up on my Instagram at KishIsRonnie, I'll most likely be able to respond there super quick. Hit me with a follow, see what the day-to-day action looks like to actually run a 7-figure wholesale business, and answer any questions you guys have. So with that said, I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll catch you in the next video.